Welcome back to my journey to read the origin of every Marvel Rivals skin. Over a month ago, I finished reading all 68 comics that inspired outfits in the game, but between the weekly shop releases, multiple events, and a new season, I think they've had plenty of time to give us some new content. I'll also be throwing in the first comic appearance of the new characters, Blade and Phoenix. And I specifically mean the Phoenix, because I've already read Jean's origin twice for this channel.
You have a seat over in that chair.
We kicked this Symbiote season off with a vampire comic? It's Tomb of Dracula number 10. A bunch of vampires are attacking some people when suddenly Blade shows up to stop them. He kills them, but another vampire hunter shows up, getting pissed off at Blade because he was following those vampires, hoping they'd lead him to their king, Dracula. We then cut to a party boat in the middle of the ocean, where Dracula is just casually attending the event. Well, if your version of casual is kidnapping a woman and then screwing with the ship's controls before announcing you're gonna do evil stuff to everyone on board. Luckily, Blade dons his diving suit, which I beg the devs to add to the game, and climbs onto the ship. They get into a fight, and Dracula nearly wins until the woman he kidnapped earlier comes running out, declaring her love for him. That's when he decides to reveal he set up a bunch of bombs before flying away, everyone diving off the ship before it explodes. Our next comic fits the season a little better. It's Uncanny X-Men number 101. We immediately start off with the X-Men's rocket ship crashing into Earth, with some narration dictating that these are the final moments of Jean Grey's life, as she desperately uses all of her power to keep the rest of the team alive. It works, and Cyclops begins to freak out before a figure suddenly jets out of the water, announcing herself as Fire, life incarnate now and forever, the Phoenix. But Jean quickly snaps out of it, muttering that her mind is burning. They head back to their mansion, but Professor X decides it would be better for Jean's recovery if the rest of the team stayed somewhere else for a while, deciding to go live at Banshee's family home. Oh, sorry, did I say home? I meant his family castle in Ireland. The X-Men are actually excited to spend some time there, and we get our second Naked Storm of the channel. I swear whoever's writing these early X-Men comics definitely had a thing for Aurora. Finally, the comic ends with a trapdoor opening, revealing the X-Men aren't alone in the castle. Banshee's cousin, Black Tom, is there, with his new pal, Professor X's stepbrother, the Juggernaut, announcing they're gonna kill the X-Men. Our first actual skin of the video is in Secret Wars number 8. Kind of. It's complicated. I'll explain when we get there. A bunch of heroes and villains have been mysteriously teleported to Battle World. The comic starts with the villains having kidnapped She-Hulk, so the heroes break into their base to get her back. A massive fight breaks out, and I truly mean massive. It's most of this comic. I'll give you a quick play-by-play. They go blood for blood with Spider-Man one-tapping the bulldozer, before the Thing mysteriously transforms back into regular Ben Grimm while fighting the Absorbing Man. Luckily, Spider-Woman is able to take him out while Thor ties up Doc Ock's arms. Hawkeye shoots Piledriver with a single arrow, and Enchantress seduces the Hulk, knocking him out. But Cap doesn't care and just smashes her in the face. Hawkeye and Ben Grimm get cornered by Lizard and Claw, while Spider-Man throws Titania straight through the outer wall of the base as we cut to Cap and the Human Torch who've just found Doom. Johnny Storm using the last bit of power he has left to take out his guard Ultron. But Steve quickly realizes that Doom is wounded and barely even sane after his recent encounter with Galactus, so he just leaves him. We then get one of my favorite Marvel panels, as the heroes find Ben Grimm playing patty cake with Claw while Hawkeye and the Lizard watch. Finally, they find She-Hulk, who's still unconscious, but they also find the Wasp, who they thought had died. Now that the fight's over, the heroes start to rest up, with Thor finding a machine that can magically repair their suits. Spider-Man finds the wrong machine and touches a ball of goop, which gives us our black suit as the comic ends. Which, returning viewers, or anyone who looks at the suit's description, might know this actually isn't the first appearance of the black suit. The way the comic release schedules worked out, Spidey comes home from Secret Wars wearing the suit before this comic where he gets the suit released. But I've already covered that comic for another video, so I thought it would be interesting to cover what should be the first appearance for this video. You can yell at me in the comments if you disagree. Jumping into something more simple, it's Marvel Comics Presents number 79, which instantly gives us our Weapon X outfit, as Wolverine is wandering a forest while being tracked by some cameras. Suddenly he's attacked by a bear, but easily slices its head clean off. We cut to the men that are tracking him, and it's revealed the suit he's wearing allows them to control him, but they're not happy with the downsides like reduced vision and extra weight, so they call Weapon X back to base, and make the very wise decision to take off the only thing allowing them to control what is basically a rabid animal. It goes about as well as you expect. We jump 2 whole decades ahead for a comic I've actually already talked about, FF number 1, but some new skins have been added from it, so I'll run through it again. The Human Torch has recently died, and Mr. Fantastic is watching a recording where he asks for Spidey to replace him. Peter shows up and meets Invisible Woman wearing her Future Foundation outfit. She tells him they've made some major changes to the team, as he also gets a Future Foundation outfit, which, fun fact, canonically has the color changing ability. Suddenly they're called into battle to stop a prison break, the Thing donning his Future Foundation outfit. Unfortunately, they arrive too late, and the villain, the Wizard, manages to escape. A year later, and we get Daken, Dark Wolverine number 22. The Human Torch isn't dead anymore. He was trapped in another dimension, but he's back and joined the Future Foundation. This story starts with a bunch of heroes searching New York for Daken, a guy that briefly replaced Wolverine when Norman Osborn ran the Avengers. But now he's dying of a terminal disease, so he's just bombing random parts of the city for fun. Actual Wolverine is able to find him, but Daken drugs him before shooting him in the head, announcing, "There you go, superheroes. You now have your dastardly evil antagonist." The Future Foundation managed to start tracking his bombs, and notice one of them is moving, assuming it must be Daken. They send in Johnny Storm, who incinerates the guy, before finally turning off his fire form and showing us his future Foundation outfit. Oh yeah, also, the guy he lit on fire, that was actual Wolverine. Turns out Dakin shot him in the head with a tracking device as a trap. As we cut back to Mr. Fantastic, who turns around to see Dakin standing there in full costume. Reed offers to try to help find a cure, but Dakin is enjoying playing the supervillain too much, stabbing him in the chest, force-feeding him pills until he overdoses, and then throwing him off the building. Getting back on theme for this season, we've got Avengers vs. X-Men number 5. The Phoenix Force is heading to Earth as it's chosen Hope Summers, Jean Grey's daughter, as its new host. The Avengers want to contain Hope so the Phoenix can't get her, but the X-Men aren't just chill with the Avengers taking her, so they get into a big fight, and Hope runs away to the moon, but they've all followed her. The comic starts with the two sides fighting, but Hope releases a massive amount of energy to stop them, begging Logan to kill her before the Phoenix arrives. He tries to, but Cyclops stops him, while we cut to Hank Pym and Tony Stark building a giant mech suit, just in time for the Phoenix to show up. Iron Man blasts it with a giant beam, which at first seems to kill it, but they quickly realize they've done something much, much worse. They've fractured it. Instead of one host, it now has 5, including our skins, Phoenix King Namor and Phoenix Diamond Emma Frost, along with a skin I guarantee I'll be returning for in a future video, Phoenix Magic. The comic ends with them heading towards Earth. We get to stay in space though, for Guardians of the Galaxy number 21. Flash Thompson, aka Agent Venom, has been hanging out with the Guardians, but the longer he stays in space, the harder the symbiote has become to control, so he's abandoned the group and is trying to get back to Earth. However, Gamora accidentally walks into the same shop as him, and they get into a fight, which doesn't last long as the rest of the team shows up, using some device to suck the symbiote off of Flash. He starts complaining, wishing he'd never gone to space in the first place, before Groot accidentally cracks open the vial, transforming into symbiote Flora Groot as the comic ends. Heading back to Earth— oh, sorry, never mind, we're actually staying with that series. For Guardians of the Galaxy number 22. Groot is really not handling the symbiote well, immediately attacking the entire group. They fight a bit, but they eventually manage to get it off him, but it escapes into the vents. They start searching the ship, and it drops on a Rocket's shoulder, transforming him into the symbiote raccoon. Once again they fight, and eventually get it off him, but it just ends up going on to an even stronger host, Drax. Finally off of the Guardians. What the fuck? Really? 3 comics in a row? Well, I guess we're heading into Guardians of the Galaxy number 23. It starts with Flash Thompson waking up, as the entire team has been defeated by Venom bonded to Drax. And it turns out he's taken control of the ship, and flown them all the way to the symbiote's home planet, Clintar. Venom detaches from Drax and runs off, so the group follows him, Flash being grabbed by a massive tentacle. It turns out the symbiotes want to talk to them, but don't have mouths, so they connect up to the entire group, giving them a memory flash of the history of their species, admitting how ashamed they are of their natural tendency to corrupt and be evil, which is exactly why they were so excited when they heard of Agent Venom, the hero helping to save Earth and the galaxy. They've summoned him here to officially deem him their agent of the cosmos, transforming him into his Space Knight outfit. You might be confused why I'm mentioning a Season 0 skin in the Season 3 video. Well, the game originally had this listed as first appearing in Venom Space Knight number 1, so that's the comic I talked about last time. But at some point the game got updated, and they changed his first comic to this one, so I decided to revisit it, especially since it fits the season. Finally actually heading back to Earth, we've got the unbeatable Squirrel Girl number 5. We kick it off with a bunch of people held hostage in the Statue of Liberty's head. They're all discussing who might save them, with one mentioning the unbeatable Squirrel Girl, giving the rest of the hostages a history lesson on the hero. The history is slightly plagiarized though, as apparently not only was Squirrel Girl Captain America's wartime sidekick, she was also a big New York hero who found a mysterious alien suit, transforming her into the symbiote squirrel. Finally, the comic ends with Squirrel Girl saving them, having been fighting the dinosaurs holding the people hostage in the background of the comic the whole time. We're on a bit of a roll with these symbiote stories, huh? Next up is Edge of Venomverse number 1. We start off in a universe where X-23 is bonded with the Venom symbiote. She's hanging out with some homeless kids when a bunch of soldiers show up to capture her. But it turns out the symbiote has spread amongst the kids, a few of them helping her to fight them off. It doesn't last long though, as she suddenly sucks the symbiote out of them before teleporting across the multiverse, summoned by our skin, Captain Clintar, declaring they've got a war to win as the comic ends. We might finally have a non-symbiote story with X-Men Red number 1. A bunch of civilians are attacking a kid because she's a mutant, when suddenly she's saved by the return of Jean Grey, along with the rest of the new X-Men Red team. They save another mutant baby before Jean Grey decides she's done letting mutants deal with this, coming up with the idea to create a mutant-only nation, meeting with Namor and T'Challa to convince their kingdoms to support her. They accept and she goes to the UN, announcing her goals. The meeting actually goes well, but then the ambassador of the UK starts to threaten her, claiming she'll never rise to true political power, when suddenly Jean senses something in her mind, reaching out to save her before the ambassador's head explodes, making it look like Jean had used her powers to do it. The cops start firing at her before Nightcrawler teleports them away, the comic ending by revealing the real culprit of the attack, Cassandra Nova. A few years later, we get Avengers number 36. Khonshu has had a vision that Mephisto is going to take over Earth, so he sent Moon Knight on a mission to gain as much power as possible to stop him, fighting against the heroes to gain their abilities. The comic starts with Black Panther battling Khonshu for Mjolnir. Khonshu is able to control it because it's made out of moon rock, while a flashback shows one of T'Challa's ancestors being worthy of the hammer, so apparently his entire tribe has some respect for Mjolnir. Black Panther Panther proves stronger before we cut to the present where Moon Knight is also fighting T'Challa. Mark is actually losing, like really badly, but it turns out he was doing it on purpose as part of a ritual to summon the Phoenix Force, who chooses him as a host and transforms him into our Phoenix Knight outfit as the comic ends. 82 comics into the series, and we finally get the Merc with the mouth in Deadpool number 10. Knull has just taken over most of the world, and Deadpool, currently the king of Staten Island, has decided he needs to take him down, because clearly there's some conspiracy by Big Goo to get more screen time than him. He can't do it alone though, so he assembles a giant team of monsters, including Mr. Frosty, Sauron, Chet Merida, Fishhead, Quinonian, Collab the Pile, Bun Bun the Destroyer, the Nightwolf, Elsa Bloodstone, Shiny, Zargo, and finally Jeff the Landshark. 6.5 minutes later, he's regretting his choices, as the symbiote goo is kicking their ass, even managing to take over poor Jeff, turning him into the devouring duo. Deadpool cuts off his own arm to stop himself from being infected before another monster, Jelby, shows up. Deadpool is pissed off at him because he apparently betrayed the team in the past, but as a peace offering, he's contained Venom Jeff inside of a jello ball. Deadpool lets him rejoin the team, and he creates a giant jello mech, Zargo ass blasting them straight into battle against the symbiote dragon. They beat the hell out of it though and knock it into a hole, but it drags Wade down with it, Jelby jumping down after him and containing the entire dragon. They head home and blast some incredibly loud music at Jeff until the symbiote comes off. Heading back into Avengers 42, the Phoenix Force is searching Earth for a new host, so it set up a tournament to figure out who's worthy. First off, Namor wins against Echo before Iron Fist beats Captain America. At Stonehenge, we see Black Knight versus Red Widow, while in the sky, the saber-toothed tiger Zabu fights American Eagle. Easter Island gives us She-Hulk versus Jane Foster Thor, and finally in Chernobyl, we get Black Panther versus our skin, the Weapon Phoenix Wolverine. The comic ends with Thor challenging the Phoenix Force's physical form, and Jean Grey appearing, telling him she'll teach him the truth of his existence. And our final comic for this video is hell no. I spent nearly 3 minutes recapping this comic last time. The new Thor Majestic Raiment skin literally appears in the same panel as Black Panther's outfit. If you want to know the story, go watch that other video. It's a good comic, it's just like 80 pages long and so much shit happens. Thanks for watching. You can check out the first 3 parts here, or you can watch my most recent video where I checked out some characters who aren't rivals. Subscribe to know when the next part drops.